What? X Harper, WWE2k19 Universe Mode. Today I'm going to take you through, for the first ever time, my Universe Mode booking. And here we go. Tonight's show is WCW Monday Nitro. And this is the show. So what I'm going to do, each video that I make on Universe, if you haven't heard the videos or watched the videos that I've done previously, go and look back at those. But to recap, the basic premises is that I'm going to do a smaller, shorter video, which is like a highlight of what's going to happen later in the actual event, when I stream the whole thing live. But this is for you guys who are too lazy to watch through, or just don't have an hour and a half or however long it's going to take, and you just want to know the results, you want to know why I've booked things certain ways, you want to know what the matchups are going to be for that evening. Maybe you just want to know so that you can make time out of your diary to watch my Universe Mode. I don't know, but for whatever reason, I want to make it as easy for you as the viewer to engage with my Universe Mode. And so the way I'm going to do it is shorter videos like this one that are going to go through the booking, and then I will reveal in the description area of the video who's going to win each match that night or that day. That way, if you can't watch the live video of the whole event, it's not a problem. If you want to just skip it, you can just watch the short version and find out who's winning and why. But this is for me to explain some of the feuds that I have and some of the matches that I've booked. So let's go straight into this and let's edit some matches. So the first match of the evening, I've got Goldberg versus El Mago, Lars Sullivan and Cassius Ohno. Just so that you know, my Universe Mode contains modern and classic wrestlers from each era, but it is all based around the Monday Night Wars, or at least the Monday and Friday Night Wars now, because War is on a Friday and Monday Nitro is on the Monday. So Goldberg versus El Mago. Why is Goldberg fighting these three jobbers on my game? Well, the reason that he's fighting them, the context is that the NWO have come back. They have assigned Goldberg the task of, you've got to go through the whole roster. You've got to beat everybody in the roster again. You've got to start from the bottom and work your way back up to get back to the main event scene. I do this every year with Goldberg, so basically he has to go from the bottom of the rung, the bottom of the ladder, all the way back to the top and work his way through all of the belts that are in between. I usually make this like a yearly build, so by the time I get to WrestleMania, Goldberg has won the whole thing and he fights Hogan or Nash for the title at WrestleMania, whatever that might be. But for this time, Goldberg's first match back in order to dominate the rankings is, unfortunately, El Mago, Sullivan and Ohno. And the easiest way that I do this is I usually create tag team elimination matches, handicap elimination matches, because that counts as Goldberg. Obviously, he has to pin every single one of these wrestlers in order to win the match, so it counts as 3 matches in one to me. So that's why I book these kind of matches. The build for Goldberg specifically, and I've got my notes next to me, so please forgive me if I'm like pausing or anything, but I just want to make sure I get everything right for you. The other reason I've got to kind of hurry this process through is that I've got Bash at the Beach in 2 weeks' time, and I would like Goldberg to fight for the $1 million title. In fact, let me just show you the championships I have. So these are my champions. At the moment, the Disciple is the champion for the $1 million belt, and so I want a $1 million title match at Bash at the Beach. And in order to do that, I want to have like a 5-way match with Goldberg, Mr. Perfect, Psycho Sid, Alberto Del Rio, and the Disciple. And that'll be an elimination match for the belt. But Goldberg, in order to be there, needs to be high enough on the rankings, which are here. He needs to be high enough so that he can basically be in number 4 spot. So he's got 2 weeks to do it. He's got to beat these 3 first, and then he's got to beat these 3 guys next week in order to get into that top 5 slot so that he can then fight at Bash at the Beach for the $1 million title. So, if that made any sense, that hopefully will be clear now. But for some reason, the game has moved Goldberg to 7. Every time I try to edit his ranking and move him to the bottom, this happens. So I'll go out, and then I go back in, and then lo and behold, Goldberg is back to number 7. The reason I think that is because I've actually put him in a match with the 3 guys below him, and I think that for some reason the game has auto set him above those 3 guys, but for the sake of clarity he needs to beat them in order to move above them, so the glitch will not win and it will not stop me or deter me from doing what I want to. So that's match 1 of Nitro, and as I said, I mean, this one's pretty obvious who's got to win it. Spoiler alert, I don't think there is a spoiler alert on this one. Goldberg has to win these in order to get the title shot, so that one is what it is. But those elimination matches are a lot of fun, so you should watch it. Wink wink. Next match is Ravishing Rick Rude and Bobby Roode versus Chad Gable and Jason Gordon. Now, there's no match for this. There's no rivalry behind this. The only context is that I have on my, let me see, in my championship, in my divisions, what I like to do is, because I've got 7 matches per card, it allows me to have one match that's like a ranking match, like pure and simple. There's no strings attached. And Legacy are bottom of the pile in the tag team division, so I wanted to start with them. And obviously the team above them are American Alpha, so Legacy are going to fight American Alpha to see if they can move up the rankings. And I will be doing that with some of the other teams I've got as well. And eventually I'll have something that looks like the exact kind of ranking that I want. But for now, Legacy have got to start at the bottom. For those of you who don't know who Legacy are, I've created a custom stable in my universe mode called Legacy. It contains Bobby Roode, Ravishing Rick Rude, and those 2 are a tag team. But then also Mr. Perfect is part of the Legacy, and he goes off and does his own thing, which in this case he'll be fighting for the $1 million title, as I mentioned earlier, at Bash at the Beach. So, next match, Buff Bagwell, Steven Regal. Buff is the stuff, and he will be rivaling Steven Regal, who is actually, just to let you know, Steven Regal is the current television champion in my mode. This is a non-title match, apparently, but I'm just going to scrape through because I'm sure I had some other title matches set up. Anyway, Buff Bagwell, Steven Regal, they'll be fighting just to build a bit of a rivalry between the 2 of them. They're going to have a match at Bash at the Beach for the television title. So we're going to see how that one plays out. I think that one's pretty simple. Buff is like, he's already #1 contender, I believe, for the title. So it works well. Then you've got Animal and Hawk, the Road Warriors versus the NWO. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. Again, this one is because of a rivalry that started on my first week in my universe mode. So, actually what ended up happening was the Road Warriors, I just had like an exhibition match the first week that I play the game, just to enjoy it and experience it all. And they ended up being in a rivalry, and I thought, well, that's a pretty good rivalry. Kevin Nash and Hall are the champions, by the way. They're the tag team champions on my game. So the idea is that they're going to be having a bit of a rivalry with the Road Warriors and another team who I will not reveal just yet, but there will be a third team that joins this trio for an event, for a main event or a match at King of the Ring. Cactus Jack, Scott Steiner, you can see that those guys are in a rivalry as well. Actually, these 2 don't have the little red symbols, but whatever. Cactus Jack and Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner is my US title holder. Again, I ended up having a match against Cactus Jack and they became rivals, and I just thought, actually, this is a good rivalry for a couple of weeks, just to establish Scott Steiner as the champion and to give him a bit of a run with the belt. So Scott is the champion. This is a non-title match, but this is a last man standing match. And I did that because this kind of feud, had it have happened in the Attitude Era, it reminds me of the kind of Triple H Mankind rivalry that happened in WWF. So I've sort of stolen the story from that storyline in WWF, but that's okay because this is my universe mode. The next match is Bret the Hitman Hart versus Sting. You can see that there's a run-in, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. There is a run-in that's going to happen at some point during the match, and that is going to be a three-way rivalry that lasts until SummerSlam for the WCW title. Now, if you haven't seen my videos previously, I have a WCW title, I have a world title, and there is a big difference between the two. The WCW title is essentially the title for the face of the company, but not necessarily the champion of the company. The champion is the World Heavyweight Champion, but obviously the face. So in WE, I do the same. There's a WE title. Stone Cold usually wins that because he is usually the face of the WE. It's just a way of me giving a belt to someone who's very popular, very well known, and also who deserves to hold one of the major titles. So it ends up being a great way for me to add in some extra rivalries and matchups, and also to add some story modes to storylines in there as well. So that is the semi-main event. The main event, though, is the Giant versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair in a 1-on-2 tornado handicap match. You might be thinking to yourself, what the heck is going on here? Why are Hollywood Hogan and Ric Flair teaming with each other, full stop, regardless of who their opponent is? But the point here is that this is to build towards a three-way match at Bash at the Beach for the heavyweight title of the world between the Giant Ric Flair and Hollywood Hogan. So in order to build that, what I wanted to do was essentially, in my head, the storyline would be that Hogan and Ric Flair would not get on well with each other during the match. They would end up fighting each other and hurting each other, which would obviously be to their own demise. I'm not going to tell you who wins the match, but they're going to obviously have a conflict as well, because at the moment it's just them two in a rivalry. But what I've done is the Giant has come into this night and he's challenged Hogan and Flair and said, I could beat you both in a three-way match, but let me tell you this, let's have a handicap match and let me prove that I can beat you, and if I do, I get a shot at the title with you two at Bash at the Beach. And so Hollywood Hogan and Ric Flair obviously have agreed this, probably not because they wanted to, but just because they're cocky, their egos are cocky and big enough to think that they could just oust the Giant in 5 seconds flat. So that is the main event of the evening for my first ever event. That is WCW Monday Nitro done. I will accept that just so I don't lose anything. Now, what will happen is that I will play the whole event through in a video after this one. Maybe not straight away, but definitely at some point today I will fight through the whole WCW Monday Nitro. You'll be able to watch events unfold live. You'll be able to see what happens. But now I've given you the context. If you don't want to watch the event later, check the description in this video a short while after it's been uploaded, and you'll find that there will be all the match results in there, just to give you the context for next week. But Bash at the Beach is coming. That is one of my shows. I'm just going to show you the calendar so that you understand what's going on here. ECW is next. That will be after the Nitro event, obviously. Then it will be Raw is War. Then we will have Saturday night's main event, which is a 3-match exhibition night where the WCW title holder, which will be Sting, Bret Hart, or whoever, the WE title holder, which I think is Shawn Michaels on my game at the moment, and the ECW title holder, who I think is Dean Ambrose. Those guys are really meant to showcase their talents on that show, but also other people can challenge to be the number one contender for the title or fight for the rankings in those titles. So the reason I did it is it allows me to use other belts that I've got on the game that I've created in my universe mode, and that's like the workaround to do it. And then, as you can see, Bash at the Beach is coming up. Like I said, I've played some before. I just wanted to have some fun, so I just played the first 2 weeks out. I've played my first pay-per-view, It was a lot of fun, but from now on, we're starting seriously, and we're going to have this go one way or the other, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video. But like I said, I'm going to be doubling up on these videos so that you get the short version, which is now, or you're going to get a different version later, which is the much longer version where you can watch live. So, King of the Ring is coming up. Just bearing in mind some of these events are going to be fought at soon, and some of the storylines are building all the way through to even SummerSlam, which is obviously in August. So lots to come. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope that I'm going to see you soon for my first ever live Universe Mode event of WCW Monday Nitro. You have been awesome. I am X Harper, and I will see you soon.